Hey folks, Adam Brian Dada with the Lower Reward video series. And today is a discussion about video games, but actually it's not about video games, it's about those mental challenges that men seek that obviously have a paleological root in survival and in tempting a potential mate to come and breed with us, going back tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Today, it's settled in the video game. And at the time of recording this video, there is a very popular video game system that just got released. Like always, all the loser, low-end guys are driving around looking for the video game system to buy. Some of them have somehow a girlfriend who's willing to buy it for them, some kind of bribe to keep them around. But we're going to talk about the reward of the video game. This is not a 2-week self-study. It tried to fit it in to one in the past and I was never able to successfully do it. Again, if you've not watched my introductory videos on YouTube, I suggest you stop this one and go back to my introduction series, watching one video every day or every other day. My content is not intended to be binged. If you start binging my content, step away from it. You're doing the opposite of what my goal is. So video games, hand-eye coordination, owning the mind, sharpening the mind, they say. You always see those iPhone and Android app advertisements that said, make your mind sharper with, crystal squares, or help the guy escape the fire pit by removing these swords. I don't know. I haven't played those games in a long time, and I no longer have interest in it. But the reason why we seek those games nowadays, well, it's because we're dopamine and serotonin addicts, of course. We want to feel a high from succeeding at something, and in a video game, you can't die in real life, likely. Video games also include that trifecta of reward very often. You've got the success of the video game, you've got potentially Mountain Dew, and maybe some Cheetos, with a sneeze. Excuse me. So, you got a lot of trifectas with video games, that's just one potential one. Well, why are the roots of the video games? What is it that we as men have inside of us that makes us want to play? Well, when you think about it, way back in the day before we had agriculture, of course, part of the video game mentality was we have to go out, hunt, find us an animal, maybe a dangerous animal, be fast enough to capture it and slay it and dress it, and use the meat to potentially tempt a partner to procreate our genes. And that was a video game back then, except unfortunately, if you didn't succeed and you ran out of food, well, number one, you didn't get to mate, and number two, you probably died. And over time, as we found agriculture, we moved from hunting as a survival method to hunting even as a time for men to enjoy nature and enjoy their skills. Rodeos with the lasso is a form of video game. Archery or shot put back in the Olympian days. Skeet shooting, all video games of sorts, chess, checkers, Go. We had these things that no longer drove towards survival, but still we had that instinct within us that we have to win at something, so we switched to gaming. And as we became little dopamine addicts, and the first pachinko and pinball style games came out, probably non-electrical at that time, the neuroengineers even back then realized that they could captivate an audience, have them give up their time, have them give up their money in order to stick to potentially winning the next game or the next game or the next game. And if you lose, if you run out of quarters, you can go get some more and keep pumping them into the machine. Quarters in the machine at the bar. Where does that sound familiar? Like my I'm going for a walk to get a Burger King taco video. People had to go somewhere to play games. They had to go to the casino, they had to go to the local pub, and they had to have money that they put into the games. And of course, that's still a form of gambling, enjoyment. It's still a higher reward mindset than going out and hunting, but it's lower reward than sitting on your couch and being able to turn on a game at almost no cost, no evidenced cost, and play for hours and hours and hours, or days and days and days. And when we get aggravated because we keep losing, guess what? Now there's cheat sheets. You can pay for cheat sheets, or you can go to forums. You can look up ways to beat that next boss and move on, and your brain still feels successful. You cheated to try and win at something, and yet you still have that successful dopamine rush. And when you don't play the game anymore, you dream about the game, you think about the game, you're at work creating a profit, and yet your mind is stuck on the video game that you're going to go home and play. You hear about guys who turn down sex from their girlfriends because they want to play their video game. Well, let me tell you a little story about that one. I'm the guy sleeping with your girlfriend when you're playing the video game and turning her down. And it doesn't bother me. But think about that when you turn her down. Your girlfriend, your wife, she is going to go step out and get it elsewhere and keep you around as an ATM paying the mortgage. Go to work, make some money, come back home, drink a beer, play a video game, pay the mortgage, rinse and recycle. Her needs aren't taken care of. So what do we do when we're video game addicts? Well, I mean, one of my favorite things to do, as I tell people in the beginning, is when you're done playing with the damn thing today, unplug it. And don't make it easy. Don't have long extension cords to the back of your TV, HDMI, or long power strips or any of that stuff. Just unplug everything. Unplug it from the TV, unplug it from the wall, wrap it up nicely, obsessive compulsively, put it in the box that it came in, put it under your bed, put it in, I don't know, downstairs in a bin in storage or up in the attic. Make yourself have to invest some time in order to play it. That's a good way to lower reward, is to invest some time. Make something a little bit more difficult to access. If it's always on and a remote control button press, well, you're gonna raise the reward. It's gonna be higher reward. It's gonna be more addicting. Try that. Invest some money that's not going to the video game manufacturer. Tell yourself, if I don't put $3 per hour into a coffee can, I can't play. And have a little alarm on that coffee can, a little egg timer, $1 per 20 minutes. You put the $3 in, you spin the egg timer to an hour, and when it buzzes, you're done until you put another $3 in. It's a great way to at least have something to show for all that time. Even though $3 an hour isn't very good, it's better than nothing. Set those celebratory goals, like if you're going to have a beer, you're going to smoke a joint, maybe make sure that you've had a success that day that's above and beyond your usual success. Saying, well, I got up on time and I made it to work on time and I worked the whole time and I got home at a reasonable hour, that's not a success. Success means something better than yesterday. So just going to work, not a success. Maybe you should say, I'm going to change my oil in my lawnmower, and then I'll play some video games. Or maybe you'll say, I'm going to spend an hour with my wife and actually look her in the eye and ask her how her boring day was. Well, that could be a success if it's not something you're doing already. The things that we have to think about before we get involved at the video game is, why do I deserve this? Why do I deserve to waste another hour or 6 or 12 on something that I know is activating my dopamine receptors, or even my serotonin ones, which are going to make you even more cloudy and depressed on the withdrawal side of things tomorrow? If putting the video game away helps curb your desire to play, then consider taking a step beyond that. Maybe instead of unboxing it and plugging it all in, maybe you should go with the neighbor and shoot some hoops. For real, I don't care if you're terrible at basketball. Throw a ball with your kid. Go take your dog out, the one that's chasing its tail in boredom and anxiety. Take your dog out, throw a frisbee at it. These are ways that you can satisfy the male drive to play a game and succeed. Go out hunting, go out fishing. I know it's not as easy, and I know it sounds boring sometimes because your brain has been completely adapted to the ease of the high reward video game structure. No time investment to set it up, to get that first high. Very little monetary risk. I mean, you buy it, that's expensive, but there's very little monetary risk that you're not gonna, profit. Very very eventful reactions every time you kill a boss or get to the next level, more so than you get out of real life. You don't get those same feelings when you know, take a risk and ask a girl out or whatever, or when you go and hunt and bring that animal back to grill. I mean, that feels great, but it doesn't feel as good as that video game pinging your brain with dopamine every time you shoot someone and they die, and the game gives you feedback with sound and music and video flashes and special effects. If you watch part of my intro to music 2-week self-study, you'll know that music in the video game is captivating. It drags you back in. So one of the other things you can try and do to make the video game lower reward is mute it. Turn it down. Turn the sound down completely. Lower it completely. If it gives you the option to disable sound effects in music, well, do that. Lower the reward by doing that. Can you play it in a lower resolution form? I know back in the Quake days, we used to play a version of Quake called Action Quake way back, I don't know, in the 90s. We were able to disable certain video quality aspects. We can have it no smoothing, no special lighting, low resolution faces on the 3D objects, whatever that was, no overlays of textures on the walls and the floors. We were disabling all that because our computers were slow, they couldn't keep up, and that actually lowers the reward. It makes it less exciting. Play at a much higher level that you can beat. Much higher level. You'll be dying more often and less frequently winning. It helps you lower the reward. Try next time when you're ready to buy that new game that's coming out, forget it. Go buy an old game that you have no interest in playing and see if you still like it. If you love playing an old game that you would have no interest in playing, well, you gotta work on getting rid of the video game system, my friend. Or try renting an old video game system from the 80s in television or the original Nintendo. See what that feels like. Working toward making your time valuable again starts with substituting a lower reward activity for the higher reward one you're addicted to. And with video games, you don't have to quit it and go cold turkey. That's not the point of lower reward living. It's not low reward living, it's lower reward living. We're trying to lower our rewards in order to make our time more fruitful, in order to make life more enjoyable and comforting and contented, not exciting and happy all the time, with the polar opposite of, oh my goodness, I'm depressed and have all this anxiety because I haven't played a video game today. I haven't succeeded today. And eventually, if you can lower your video game rewards enough, maybe you will find out that you actually prefer throwing a baseball with the neighbor. Maybe you prefer taking that dog to the park and throwing the frisbee at it. Maybe you prefer going out with a couple of guys on your boat. My boat that I'm on right now doesn't cost much more than a video game addiction for a year would cost. Taking your guys out on the boat and maybe doing some fishing. Looking for some crabs or free diving for oysters. That's not the goal. The goal isn't to stop playing video games and then eventually hope you're going to be an oyster free diver. That's not the goal. The goal here is to lower the reward a little bit with substitution and seeing if you still enjoy it after a time. I was able to break my video game addiction by telling myself I'm not going to have a video game system at home. I'm going to save quarters, not dollars. I'm going to purchase things with money, cash, and save every quarter. And when I had a pocket full of quarters, I would walk to the local bar, not drink, not meet up my friends. I'd walk to the local bar and I'd play a video game or a pinball machine until the quarters were gone or I lost interest. And that's how I broke my addiction. Over time, substituting lower reward for higher reward until such point that the higher reward ones no longer sounded so appetizing. Post comments below on YouTube, not on the social network that this was shared on, and let me know what your higher reward video game habits are and what ideas you have for potentially lowering them, but not getting rid of them entirely. I'd like to hear. I'd like to work on a more thorough piece of research here, conversation to help other people in the future. I'm Adam Brian Dada, and this is the Lower Reward video series.